Elon Musk's surprising gesture that left a town stunned. What happened at a diner in Texas? Imagine a quiet morning in a small diner just outside Austin, Texas, a place where the scent of freshly brewed coffee fills the air and the sound of clinking plates is a regular backdrop. Now, imagine a group of first responders, exhausted after an intense training session, seeking refuge in that very diner. They're tired, some still in their safety gear, all desperately needing a break from the grueling work they do. The last thing they expect is the arrival of one of the most famous billionaires in the world. And yet, that's exactly what happened next. What followed was a chain of events that no one in that diner would ever forget. The first responders, having just completed a tough training course, needed food, coffee, and a quiet place to unwind. Steve, a seasoned firefighter, sat by the window, quietly reflecting on the pride and anxiety that filled his heart. His son had just been accepted to college, but with the bills piling up, he wasn't sure how he would manage the tuition fees. The weight of his concerns was heavy, but for now, Steve tried to enjoy the calm moment with his fellow responders. The diner, a regular spot for them after such rigorous training sessions, was always a welcoming place. Today, however, there was something in the air, something unusual. The door opened, and a figure stepped inside, causing the entire room to fall silent. Heads turned, eyes squinted. Was that really who they thought it was? It was none other than Elon Musk, the tech billionaire and visionary behind companies like Tesla and SpaceX. Wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans, Musk stood out like a sore thumb in this humble, roadside diner, yet he seemed completely unfazed by the attention. There were no security guards, no entourage, just Musk, strolling in as though he was a regular customer. Everyone was confused. Why was he here? No one expected a billionaire to step into this small diner. The first responders exchanged puzzled glances. They had heard Musk had moved some of his businesses to Texas, but seeing him here, in a diner full of sweaty, tired first responders, was something else entirely. Musk didn't seem to care about the stares or the whispers. He simply walked up to the counter and ordered a black coffee from the young woman behind it. She was clearly starstruck but did her best to stay professional. Musk then made his way to a booth in the far corner, sat down, and pulled out a small notebook. He began scribbling notes, as if he were at a high-level board meeting, surrounded by executives, not in a diner filled with first responders. No one knew exactly what he was working on, but the first responders couldn't help but be curious. Could it be a new Tesla project? A breakthrough from SpaceX? The room buzzed with questions as Musk continued his work, almost lost in the pages of his notebook. Then, just as the tension in the room was at its peak, Musk did something unexpected. He looked up, his gaze sweeping across the room, and then, without warning, his eyes locked onto Steve's table. For a brief moment he studied them, taking in their uniforms, the camaraderie between them, and the exhaustion etched on their faces. A slight smile appeared on Musk's face, and then, as though drawn by some invisible force, he got up from his seat and walked over to the group of first responders. "Hello?" he said simply, as he sat down at their table, completely uninvited. The room fell silent again. The billionaire didn't introduce himself. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. The responders, still stunned, looked at each other in disbelief. What was happening? "I heard you guys had an intense training today," Musk said, his voice calm and matter-of-fact. Steve, still trying to wrap his head around the fact that he was speaking to Elon Musk, nodded. "That's correct," he replied, not sure what else to add. Musk, however, seemed genuinely interested. He didn't just ask surface-level questions. He wanted to know about their challenges, what it was like being on the front lines, and what drove them to continue their work, day in and day out. Slowly, the responders began to open up. Steve shared the stress of managing his son's college tuition, the pressure of juggling family life with the demands of being a firefighter, and the sacrifices that came with the job. Others chimed in, too, speaking of their own struggles with finances, family, and the emotional toll of their work. It was a conversation that quickly grew more personal, but Musk didn't interrupt. He listened intently, taking in every word, nodding in understanding. It felt strange to everyone in the room. This was the billionaire who changed the world with Tesla, who launched rockets into space, and yet here he was, listening to the concerns of first responders like they were old friends. As the hours ticked by, coffee mugs were refilled, plates of food were cleared, and the conversation flowed. The diner staff, who had been observing this unexpected meeting from a distance, were starting to wonder if this was some sort of publicity stunt. But for Steve and the others, it felt different. Musk wasn't just playing the part of the generous billionaire, he seemed genuinely interested in their lives. Finally, as the afternoon sun began to dip lower in the sky, Musk stood up. He didn't say much, just thanked everyone for their service. But before leaving, he did something that took everyone by surprise. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, and then walked over to the register. The young woman behind the counter barely believed what she saw as Musk handed over his bank cards. "Don't worry about the check," Musk said simply. "I've got it covered." The first responders were stunned. A billionaire, picking up the tab for everyone in the diner? They had never expected such a thing. And yet, that wasn't the end of the surprises Musk had in store. As he reached the door, he turned back and, almost casually, said, "Thank you for everything you do. I'll be seeing you all very soon." The room was left in complete silence as Musk walked out, leaving behind a group of bewildered first responders trying to process what had just happened. Had it been a publicity stunt? Or was Musk simply doing something kind, something that wasn't part of his usual media persona? In the weeks that followed, rumors began to swirl. There were whispers about a new community initiative Musk was launching, but no one could get the details. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that Steve received a letter addressed to him, and it seemed to hold the answers. The letter came from Tesla's corporate office, and inside was an invitation to a private event for the very first responders who had been in that diner. The letter hinted that the event would reveal something groundbreaking, a project unlike anything the public had seen before. The team was immediately intrigued. They began to speculate wildly. Could it be something to help first responders? Maybe a new piece of technology designed to make their jobs easier? Whatever it was, they couldn't wait to find out. When the day of the event arrived, Steve and his team gathered at a massive open-air venue. A large sheet covered something mysterious in the center of the stage. Journalists, Tesla engineers, and local officials were all in attendance, buzzing with excitement about what was to come. The atmosphere was electric, full of anticipation. Finally, Elon Musk took the stage. He spoke briefly about the sacrifices of first responders, acknowledging the challenges they faced daily. But then, the real surprise came. Musk revealed that the project he had been working on wasn't just about technology or business, it was something far more personal. Something that would directly benefit the very people who served their communities with courage and sacrifice every day. The big reveal was just the beginning. Musk had quietly been working on a new initiative that would provide resources, support, and innovative technology to first responders across the country. The community initiative was Musk's way of giving back to those who gave so much of themselves, often without recognition or reward. And this was only the start. What followed was a series of groundbreaking projects aimed at revolutionizing the way first responders did their jobs, providing them with the tools they needed to save lives more efficiently. For Steve and his team, this unexpected encounter with Elon Musk at that small diner in Texas had turned into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. What started as a simple, quiet gesture of kindness had evolved into a game-changing initiative that would impact the lives of first responders across the nation. And it all began with a cup of coffee in a diner.